Okay, welcome everyone. This is Isle Palms Special City Council meeting. Today is Friday, April 16th. It's 4 p.m. The agenda today is introduction of the meeting is called a special meeting in order to acknowledge that the press and the public were duly notified of this meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. Before we get started, could we have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Councilmember Thompson.
Here.
Councilmember Street.
Here.
Councilmember Warren.
Here.
Councilmember Ward.
Here.
Councilmember Bell.
Here.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Here.
Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Towns. Mayor Carroll.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. First up on our agenda is citizens' comments. I believe we have one.
Must be the one.
You must be the one. Ted, come on up.
I asked for a little extra time. Told I'd have it, so if you don't.
Please don't go over 30 minutes.
I will keep it below 30. You all hear this, or I need to pick it up?
You need to hold it.
Hold it, please,
Yeah.
Ted.
All right. As you all know by now, I'm Ted McNate. Growing up, they made Piper airplanes in my town. And every plane that was made was flown by a test pilot before it was sold to the public. It wasn't flown in ideal conditions. It was flown in less than ideal conditions and high stress conditions. Why? To make sure that the plane would fly safely. People's lives depended on it. Parking on Palm Boulevard during peak beach days has the potential to be a life-threatening situation also. You need to get this parking right the first time. I, along with other concerned citizens, met on Palm Boulevard and laid out several parking spaces as stated by IOP. Numerous tests using various vehicles. Some of you, along with Channel 4, watched this. You saw, and we have videos showing that the 60-degree angle parking would not work. You all know that I have said from the beginning that I am for a maximum number of safe angled parking spaces. But whatever that angle is, that will allow all vehicles to normally come here to safely back out of the designated parking space without encroaching onto Palm Boulevard or any adjoining parking space or any obstacle within the grassy area of the right-of-way. Pardon me. On Monday, I met with Secretary Hall and a number of her engineers. It was very clear to me that they had already made their minds up that 60-degree angled parking is what SCDOT wants to use on Palm Boulevard. I told them the 60-degree angled parking wouldn't work safely. They told me they are the experts and in their expert opinions, 60-degree angled parking will work. I asked them, what is the distance from the concrete barrier 4 feet from the sidewalk to the pavement of Palm Boulevard? They said 30 feet. I said SCDOT requires that that distance to be around 39 feet. They asked me where I got the 39 feet. I said from their document, which I then showed to them, and which some of you have. They said their own document didn't mean a thing. In their expert opinions, the 60-degree angle would work. They then said 4 or 5 times that Georgetown has 60-degree angle parking, and it works great. I said Georgetown and Palm Boulevard aren't at all alike. I asked, have you ever been here on a beautiful beach day in the summer? The one engineer said no. I said it's total chaos, which is why we need safe angle parking. He continued to insist that 60 degrees works great everywhere, including IOP's rec center, which is along 27th Avenue at the rec center, which is a very quiet street, and compared to the 12,500 vehicles a day on Palm Boulevard, they aren't alike at all. So I Googled photos of downtown Georgetown, and what did I see? 60-degree angled parking on a fairly quiet street, but most importantly, upon immediately backing up out of the parking space, one's vehicle was immediately on the street. Comparing Georgetown with Palm Boulevard is like comparing an eggplant with an elephant. They both start with an E and end with a T, but everything else is totally different. I couldn't believe that the person who was telling me I had to trust him because he's the expert would so grossly mislead me. Which is why it's so important that you all slow this whole process down before you do anything else, especially to even consider, let alone vote for this ordinance, allowing 60-degree parking. And you must get that distance from SCDOT that is required for safe maneuvering space. Yes, SCDOT videotape their demonstration, and under ideal conditions, using the vehicle of their choosing, they may be somehow barely made it work. But all of you know that much, if not a majority of the time, there won't be ideal conditions here on Palm Boulevard. And it has to work with the expected less than ideal conditions, which is why the SCDOT distance of 39 feet for safety is required. All 4 lines of each parking space must be marked, otherwise you have no enforcement. You need a probationary period, 3 months this summer, to see if it works. The law says angled parking when exiting can't interfere with the flow of traffic on the highway. If you back up and oncoming traffic has to slow down or stop, that's a traffic violation that has to be counted to determine if the parking is working. If SCDOT 60-degree and angled parking plan is so great, get SCDOT to give IOP a hold harmless agreement for any injuries or damages that occur as a result of this parking plan. Finally, everyone involved has done a terrible job educating the public about what is about to happen. In my opinion, SCDOT bears most of the blame for this. Rightfully or wrongfully, is falling on you, IOP. There are many reasons to postpone your decision for at least a week. And for our residents who are angry, frightened, and confused, you need to stop this thing for a period of time, or among other good reasons, in order to better educate the public with what's going on. I have, as probably you have, heard various comments, including, are mailboxes being moved? Are private driveways going to be driven on? Who pays for the damage? Why are you destroying the beauty of our neighborhoods with those ugly concrete things? How long will they last? And those are just a few of the things I've heard in the last 48 hours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. McKnight. The purpose of this meeting is second reading of ordinance 2021-04, an ordinance amending Title 8, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 2, stopping the standing and parking of vehicles of the City of Isle Palm's Code of Ordinances to provide a new beach parking regulations along Palm Boulevard. Before we get too far, let me remind everybody that if you go to our website, iop.net, look under administration, and to the left, you'll see a parking chronology, reverse chronology. It goes as far back as 2008, but it is even further back than that. Again, in 1987, we bought 5.5 acres knowing that we were going to have future parking problems. But it goes back even further than that. So there's nothing new about parking problems on the Isle of Palms. It's always been in transition as the growth of the Tri-County continues. This is something that we're always going to be faced with. Before we get into a motion, I think the chair of public safety would like to say a couple of things.
And probably, she's gonna pull the mask down, probably more than a couple, but thank you, Mayor. This is never easy when there's never enough parking. So I just like to kind of walk through the chronology of what administration and council has done, getting us to where we are today, and shed a little bit of insight. A lot of personal time spent this week, but we started this conversation with the potential retraction by SCDOT of the 2015 Managed Beach Parking Plan. We began this week, and much credit to our administrator, but we began this week with discussion following meetings that we had with Senator Campson, the mayor, myself, Desiree, focused on 21st Avenue to 40th Avenue, and what can we do to, quote, optimize parking. Optimize has different meanings, and I very specifically asked Secretary Hall on Monday if you asked your engineering team for an optimal plan for safety, would that be the exact same plan that we have in front of us today, optimizing the available parking spaces? And I think we all know the answer to that. The answer is probably it would look somewhat different. Monday, we had a coordinated meeting. I'd spent some time with Administrator Fregoso trying to stage what we wanted to do. And I'm using the term stage in terms of appointments, not staged demonstrations, but to ensure that the community was involved. And Mr. McKnight was invited to meet with the secretary at 3 o'clock that day. And much to his credit, he has done a tremendous amount of measurement work. Many of us have been down there with him in previous weeks looking at complications with angled parking, what angles will work, what distances will work. And I will tell you, I left those discussions and meetings. The Assistant City Manager Ron Hanna was there. We've had countless people there. Those measurements did not work, and I couldn't make them work. Monday morning, personally, I went out before any meetings began with my wife's Cherokee, 4 feet off the sidewalk, 9 feet wide. I could not make that work. It just simply didn't. I measured the car, it's 16 feet long. I measured my truck, it's 18 feet long. It did not work. Following that, we actually spent 5 hours with Secretary Hall, her team, Senator Campson, Representative Bustos came. We had what I felt was a very productive, gracious meeting with Secretary Hall listening. I didn't know what to expect. I've not exactly been on the right side of SCDOT sitting up here as the chairman of public safety. But I will say this, as we went through this and we looked at this, we were asked what would work. And Desiree, please feel free to jump in. You were there the entire time. My personal observation was, we could start with making these spaces wider, right? I mean, when you're talking about backing out, you've got to consider the rear of the car, the distance from the pavement. You've got to consider the front of the car and clearance from the driver's side corner to be able to effectively back out and not flip the car next to you. And above all, do I have line of sight, to children and others unloading those cars? We had a lot of discussion around what's optimal. We are never going to have people park optimally. We've all lived here long enough to know that just simply doesn't happen. The perfect world doesn't exist when it comes to parking on the Isle of Palm. Secretary Hall agreed. She said, we can make those 10 feet. And I think for the record, it's important to note state code is 8 feet, city code is 9 feet. We've now got agreement with SCDOT for 10 feet. The other thing we did to make it more palatable to the public, to anyone parking, is move that front bumper 1 foot closer to the sidewalk to give a more optimal distance between the paved part of Palm Boulevard and the end of the 19.5 foot perpendicular to the bumper marking. The concerns from the Barrier Island Preservation Group that were sent to me last night for review, Desiree and I met this morning with the engineering team from SCDOT again and said, can you please give us the distances from the closest end of the 19.5 foot perpendicular to the pavement and assure us that those distances in the engineering plan will afford an opportunity for a large vehicle to back out. Those minimum distances along that corridor are 12 feet. And Leland, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to take your thunder. I'm just kind of on a roll here. Kind of live this for the week. We did demonstrations with 2 Suburbans. Police Chief Cornett was involved on Monday, and we all witnessed, and I think Desiree has the video, we all witnessed that they were able to back out, even side by side, without entering the pavement. In my mind, does that mean everybody's going to do that? Absolutely not. And I'll just answer, my phone's been lit up all day, all week with resident concerns. I've returned many of those phone calls and tried to the best of my ability to explain. Everybody's seen those ugly gray concrete, not really concrete bumpers, they're composite. I think everyone should take note. Those are for this season. Those are not going to be permanently installed ugly SCDOT provided bumpers. They are not good looking. That's a mild understatement. And when we turn this over to Desiree for some comments, we had looked in the past when Councilmember Buchanan was chairing public safety. We did look at a more suitable marking, something that would meet the aesthetic quality that we'd expect our community to have. And hopefully, and this was Mayor Carroll's suggestion this morning, is that we take a test block or something and lay this thing out with SCDOT in a way that the public understands where we're going with this, not where we are today trying to meet some SCDOT deadlines. So, Mayor, with that, I would compliment the SCDOT team and Secretary Hall and the involvement from our legislators. This has not been a knee-jerk reaction this week from what I've witnessed, and I've literally lived it every day. We are trying our best to do our best, recognizing that all the choices do not lie with this city. That there is a cooperative effort that we have to have with SCDOT. And I've told those council members that have reached out to me, I don't know how to make this better as a council up here than what we've had in front of us now. I would ask a representative from SCDOT to comment. There was willingness, understanding the concerns, what if this doesn't work? There's willingness to work with us going forward to adjust this plan. And it's not, this is it, by God, you're going to live with it. This is hopefully a bit of a new beginning with SCDOT to cooperate with the city. I think what I've witnessed, what the administrator and mayor have witnessed has been pretty productive over the last week. Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, so in order for us to get into discussion, can I have a motion for the second reading of ordinance 2021-04?
I make the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Or your second?
I'll second.
Now we can have discussion. Before we have discussion, I think the best thing to do is have our SCDOT representative, Leland Colvin, come up and talk to us, and explain to us what's coming down the pike. And I think we're a little premature this past week, but we corrected that, and I thank y'all for being so responsive to that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Okay, I take this off.
Yes, sir,
Fully
please.
vaccinated, so, well, first of all, thank you for having me today and appreciate the coordination and cooperation that Chairman Bell had mentioned, and certainly met with Mayor Carroll a couple of times. Started off over there on Breach Inlet and looked at increasing the parking over there at Breach Inlet. So appreciate that coordination, certainly with the administrator. Thank you very, very much for all your coordination. And really, Chairman Bell pretty much summarized kind of where we're at and kind of how we got there. And I think really the key thing is that the DOT and the city has worked collaboratively together to come up with a parking plan on Palm Boulevard. We did and come out and do a field test with Secretary Hall, with Chairman Bell, with administrators and other folks as well on Monday. And really, as a result of that field trial on site, we actually made some adjustments to the plan. We had 9.5 feet wide stalls. As Chairman Bell mentioned, we increased that another half foot to 10 foot. We moved the front parking wheel stop a foot closer to the sidewalk. And as a result of those field changes, that's in your book today. I did an updated drawing at Chairman Bell's request to talk about the buffer space at the back of the parking stall. So we've made those adjustments and feel like we've tested that and it works on site, and it would work with a suburban vehicle as well. So not just a small compact vehicle or a mid-sized vehicle. Those tests were run with a suburban. So very, very thankful for the coordination that we've had. Secretary Hall was down here. She's spent a tremendous amount of time down here in Isle of Palms looking at several things. And we feel like the plan that we have presented tonight is the best plan for the current conditions of Palm Boulevard. We feel like it helps with operation and safety. And we know we've got further discussion on what Palm Boulevard should look like in the future, addressing several things such as pedestrians, parking, bicycles, golf carts, and those type things, and how and aesthetics. I know aesthetics is a big issue for council, and we've heard that loud and clear. So we look forward to our continued conversation and working with the town. And Mr. Mayor, I'm glad to answer any questions your members of the council may have.
Leland, if you can stay up there, I'll let council ask questions. Rusty?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Couple of questions here. In regards to moving the stop closer to the sidewalk by another foot, is that correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
How is that going to affect pedestrians on the sidewalk? terms of the room that they normally have now and, with those bumpers, those front bumpers, not hang onto the sidewalk by doing that. Another question I had earlier in one of our earlier meetings, I'll just voice it again. We have an awful lot of our residents that have golf carts that aren't LSVs. So they sometimes drive between the blocks in the median beside the sidewalk. The way this is going to be laid out, that's not going to be, they're not going to be able to do that unless they're actually driving a golf cart on the sidewalk. Under our current code, that's not allowable. Is that right, Chief?
That's correct, sir.
Yeah, so just throwing those questions out there.
Yes, sir. And can I refer back to this drawing? I don't know if everybody has a copy of this
We
drawing.
got it.
Okay, so the great questions. Appreciate that, Councilman. So what we have done, as you mentioned, we have moved the parking stall itself, the 19 feet shown on this drawing here. We've moved that another foot closer to the sidewalk. So on Palm Boulevard, we've got 100 feet of right of way. So the state owns 100 feet of right of way. It's 50 feet each side of the center line. And then Palm Boulevard itself has two 10-foot lanes with a 1-foot paved shoulder outside of the travel lane. And what you see here is we have moved the parking stall itself to within 3 feet of the existing sidewalk. That still accounts for the overhang, counting that you may have if a car were to pull up and his front tires were to hit that front wheel stop. We've got 19 feet within the stall itself, 10 feet wide, and then we actually have a 12-foot buffer between the back of the parking stall and the travel lane itself. 11 feet to that paved shoulder, then another foot to the travel lane. And what we're able to do, Councilman, is we're able to use that 12-foot of buffer space behind the parking stall itself for those vehicles, those large Suburbans to maneuver back, not only backing out and be able to get on Palm Boulevard heading south, but just as important, heading northbound as you're coming onto the island looking for a parking space, may have made that left-hand turn into the parking stall at that 60-degree angle. Does that answer your question?
Partly, I still don't have an answer for the golf cart. I understand what you're saying about the bumper and the proximity to the sidewalk, but where would a golf cart traveling from 27th Avenue to 29th Avenue on Palm, instead of going up and down the avenues, how would they traverse that?
Yeah, I don't know that on that 50-foot of right of way, or excuse me, I really should talk about on the shoulder side itself is probably where they should be. I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, help me out, Chief, I believe the golf carts are prohibited as it stands today, state law for any primary route. And Palm Boulevard is currently a primary route, so they really shouldn't be out there based on state law now, Councilman.
I can get some more of that if you'd like.
Please, Chief, if you don't mind clarification there.
So by state law, they're not supposed to operate on a state highway. And then that part of Palm Boulevard is considered a state highway. So they shouldn't even be on the shoulder. Now, what we have done is we've had conversations with SCDOT about how we could navigate some lanes that would help them use the secondary roads to safely cross over Palm Boulevard, because they do that now. And we understand that golf carts are a significant mode of transportation on the island. So we wanted to work with them and work with DOT to find ways that we could do crosswalks that might help them. They're still going to have to use the secondary roads in the neighborhoods, which they should be doing by law now. And then they'll be able to come across on those secondary highways to cross over Palm, which they're kind of doing now, but they're not doing it the way that it needs to be. So SCDOT has said that they will work with us to make that safe and legal for them to do so.
Chief, if you'd address the conversation we had with Senator Campson, it is legal to cross Palm Boulevard in a golf cart, and I think maybe provide some clarity to that conversation.
That's correct. So you can't drive on the highway, but you can cross over it. Now, where I said people are not doing it the right way is they're using crosswalks. Crosswalks are not meant for golf carts to cross over. They're supposed to cross over at the secondary road across to another road or the other side of the shoulder where they're going to park in the golf cart parking. So we have talked with SCDOT about how we can make that look and work the way it's supposed to in a safe manner for the golf carts to do that.
Well, I've done that 1,000 times because I have to, I have to cross Palm with my golf cart. But I wasn't aware that it was unlawful for median to be used adjacent to the sidewalk. I've always understood that was perfectly legal.
because it's part of the right of way, it's kind of considered part of the highway.
Right.
And so they shouldn't be traversing it anyways. With this parking stalls, they're not going to be able to do that. And like you said, they cannot drive on the sidewalk. We really want to encourage our residents to use those secondary roads and then to work with us as we try to come up with the safe ways to get you across Palm Boulevard. But if you are crossing Palm Boulevard, you have to do it from one of the secondary streets, like one of the avenues. You have to go to that stop sign, and then you can cross over to get to the other side of the road.
Okay, and Mr. Mayor, if I may, just to finish up my comments that I'm going to be making anyway. We've had an awful lot of residents who reached out to us about, questions they have about the yard debris, rollout trash cans, that sort of thing, and how that would work and how that would look under this new configuration. And, they've asked about handicap parking spaces on that land side of Palm. How would that be dealt with in the future? Would we be adding more of those? All those are questions in my mind that still need to be answered. But I also was attendant at Mr. McKnight's and his group's presentation a few weeks ago that clearly demonstrated that the parking configuration at 60 degrees under the old plan did not work. I mean, I saw them try it every way they could, and it just simply didn't work without them backing on the palm. And I also happened to run upon Councilman Bell when he had his Cherokee trying to back it out. So I stopped to see what he was doing and witnessed firsthand that he couldn't back out of there without getting the Cherokee on the pavement either. So I did see that, but I was also happy to hear, even though I wasn't at the meeting, that the dimensions were changed and it looked like that worked. I certainly saw the video that was provided by City Administrator Fregoso. So I feel more comfortable that what we have now is a safer alternative. And I just hope that we stay open-minded about this during the season, really evaluate it closely and make any kind of adjustments or improvements needed. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councilmember Ward and Councilmember Moyd, and hopefully you can do the video.
Sure. And one more thing on Councilman Streetman, I think that you mentioned the golf carts. One of the things that we met with city staff earlier on is that first block, as you make that 90-degree turn there, that is where I think most of the golf carts are getting off the neighborhood street, getting on the Palm Boulevard in that right of way and then crossing right there the 90-degree. That section right there, and based on conversations with the administrator, with the chief, we're not putting parking in that one area there. Just want to make it.
Then at 21st, you're talking about?
Correct, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we're not going to have parking in that block itself as a result of the conversation with staff.
Okay, thank you.
How many of people of the general public have seen this plan?
It's been, it's really just been coordinated with the city, and I'll defer to the administrator on
This
that.
week? Okay. This week?
Yes, I mean, we've met with several members of the public that we know have been very engaged on Monday. While we were out there, a number of folks stopped by and had an opportunity to talk to the engineers and talk to the Secretary Hall herself. We've included the drawings as part of the packet of the meeting, so it's available online. We've had information for several weeks now on the city's website about the angled parking plan. This was discussed early on through public safety, then city council 2 times, and this would be the 3rd time that this would be in front of you all.
Are you working on a specific deadline to get this installed?
So we're prepared to install this beginning next week, Council. We're prepared to and stand ready to start the installation next week.
Just an observation, we spent years and had public hearing after public hearing after public hearing about what to do with the marina, and which was a major issue here. And I can't think of anything that's more, the citizens have more interest in parking on Palm Boulevard. I'm just a little concerned that we're moving too fast. This was just done this week, but I can tell there's Mr. McKnight made a whole lot of sense to me and made a whole lot of good points. That I'm just afraid the people, when they find out about the ins and outs and of the plan, there's going to be a lot of questions. And, we follow up, Rusty, with the, golf cart. My experience has been, I got pulled over one time because I went from 22nd to 21st and then crossed over. And, policeman pulled me and said, no, you can't do that. You cannot go parallel, not even a few feet, according to the state law, of transfer parallel to Palm Boulevard. You have to do what the chief says and like cross over 22nd instead of everybody goes to 21st and crosses over.
Just send me a bill for the tickets that I incurred.
Councilmember Moore.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here, and certainly thank you to our administration and everyone on council who's taken part in all of the demonstrations, and certainly Mr. McKnight and the members of the public. I think that what I've seen, as someone who hasn't been at the demonstrations, full disclosure, this has been a very collaborative effort, and I know that there's some unanswered questions and some, feelings of unease with some of the current conditions. The fact that the process has been highly collaborative between all of these different entities, I think is something to be acknowledged and commended. So thank you to everyone who's been involved directly in this process and for all the work in trying to produce what is the optimally safe parking plan that also, trying to reconcile quantity versus safety. And I think that's been very clear. That's what we're trying to do here. I will say to point from Councilmember Bell and from Mr. McKnight around what kind of commitment and assurances can we get from the DOT that we are going to be reviewing and revising this, that, we haven't seen it in peak season, and peak season looks a lot different than all of the tests that we've done. So I guess that would be the main thing. I would love to hear from you on the record. These are the assurances that we have when we're voting on this plan, that we're going to take a look at it. Here's what we're going to look at. Here's the metrics we're going to evaluate. And here are the actions that we're going to take based on the data that we see at the end of this season.
Yeah, so it's a great question. As I stated earlier, it's been, like you said, Councilman, it's been a very collaborative effort. We think that we've got the ideal plan on the current conditions of Palm Boulevard as it is today. We know as we talk golf carts, pedestrians, bicycles, we know that Palm Boulevard is going to have a different look at some type of future. I think it's that collaboration that the DOT and the city continue that open dialogue, continue that open communication, and make adjustments as needed, especially when it comes, as you said, Councilman, when it comes to safety and operations. And that's what we try to do with this plan here, is look at the safety component and the operational component of the plan. And really, we were not worried about quantity, we're more worried about quality and having that safety. So certainly, we're going to be, as we did just this week, we made adjustments to what we had. We understand that yes, you've got to see it during peak time to see if there's any further adjustments that we need to make. We know once we lay it out, I think somebody mentioned mailboxes and those type things. There's going to be some other on the field items that we've got to have to work around as we do that installation. We're committed to continuing that conversation and continuing that openness with the city as we move forward.
I'd love if we had something. I appreciate that, by the way, and totally. Again, I think this is set a really good standard of working relationship, and I think we've really, frankly, improved upon the existing relationship that was already there, and by leaps and bounds. So I totally appreciate that. I would love some more specifics. I mean, even if we go to the extent of, okay, we're going to take a look on August 30th. We're going to take a look at the traffic data. We're going to take Chief Cornett's incident reports. We're going to take a look, and again, in this collaborative spirit, we're going to sit down and say, is this working? How are we going to address the aesthetics? Because we know that that's going to be an issue with what we have this year. I would love to have some specific, tangible things that we have commitments from SCDOT. We're going to do this and make sure that we're reviewing it and making the adjustments as necessary.
I will tell you that Secretary Hall has drafted a letter and written a letter to Senator Campson to talk about a review and looking at the traffic overall as part of the Isle of Palms connector and looking at the overall traffic. We're going to do that. We're going to actually hire a consultant to help us do that and look at that. So through that letter, there's going to be on writing going out there to Senator Campson that we're going to do a review of traffic after the summer season. And you've got our commitment that we're going to do that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Leland, before we go any further, more questions, do we have video is the same for backing into traffic. I think it'd be great for our residents to see.
Ron?
Yes.
And I believe that was with 3.
Yeah, we had, they had 3 large Suburbans parked next to each other, and then the one in the middle shown backing out.
Yeah, so this is a full-size Suburban here in the white backing up. The chalk line there is actually 4 feet off of the edge of pavement. And as you look, that dimension that we talked about and what Chairman Bell mentioned is basically from the back end of the parking stall to the edge line is 12 feet of maneuverability in there. 12-foot buffer between the back of the parking stall and the edge line itself.
Leland, question, while you're doing that. The cars traveling northeast, when they turn across the southwest lane, is that one smooth turn into it?
Yeah, yes, sir. Part of the field trial that we did on Monday, we made that turn heading north on Palm Boulevard and making that left turn into the 60-degree stall. And we understood that through discussions with the city and understanding that, hey, there's a lot of beach traffic coming to this beautiful city. We understand that. We talked about Senator Moya just a second ago about talking about the traffic and doing that traffic study and reviewing the traffic. One of the things we felt like, hey, Palm Boulevard is an SC route. We know that's the quote major thoroughfare in the city. And trying part of that 60 degrees is trying to keep that traffic off of those neighborhood streets. And so they don't have to go through the neighborhood streets, find a spot to turn around and head back southbound on Palm Boulevard. So the short answer to your question is we were able to make that turn northbound west of the parking spot.
Kevin, Ryan, any questions?
Mr. Mayor, just a quick
Yes, sir,
question.
please.
Just want to confirm that I thought I heard that the concrete stops will be pulled up after the summer season.
I think that further discussion on what those aesthetics will look like, but yes, so only the front stop is going to be concrete. The other 2 are very, very lightweight composite. So we'll have a front wheel stop at the front of the parking stall, and then we'll have two composite stops. It's very easy to remove on the side. So I know further discussions as we talked about during the meeting, talk about with staff, talk about with Chairman Bell, that we'll be looking at those aesthetics and other issues that we may find as part of the parking plan.
And just for the record, those composites look like concrete right now. So everybody has
Yeah, we
said,
have one.
I want to watch Desiree pressing that and making
They're
everyone
actually
believe it's
pretty
concrete.
lightweight.
Yeah.
They're like, I do want to add something just to clarify. The importance of having this kind of infrastructure in place is to ensure that the parking happens organized at an angle and that people can move forward. So it is important for the operational aspect of the parking in this section that we do have some type of infrastructure guiding and directing parking. This, something that we've talked at length with our police department, it's going to make enforcement 100 times easier because there's going to be one single vehicle in each space. There's not going to be any question. There's not going to be double or triple parking. Vehicles will not be able to drive over the sidewalk to exit, which was happening when we had perpendicular parking for many, many years. So this is the best solution that we have been able to work through with SCDOT. I want to commend them and their engineers. They have been wonderful to work with. Same as Secretary Hall. Our police chief, our fire department personnel have been involved. Chief, personally tested it, backing in, pulling in and backing out. We had our police department sedans. I tried it with my vehicle. I was able to do it without any issue. So we're comfortable and we certainly support this moving forward. In terms of the timing, it's important that we get this done before school is out. We've already seen a busy spring break and busy weekends coming up. So for us, timing is important to avoid any additional operational challenges with traffic and congestion in our community. So from our perspective, I wanted to say thanks to everybody who has been involved, and certainly the mayor and Chairman Randy and Chairman Bell.
Chairman
Randy.
Randy.
You know, we feel very comfortable that, that this is going to be a huge improvement from what we have with parallel parking, which clearly did not work. And I think it's okay for us to admit that and go back and say, let's try this. And certainly has the staff support.
Desiree, would you show the true grid?
I think that true grid is real important to show because it's not going to happen this year, but it will happen the following year
Or a similar product?
or a similar product.
Happy.
Bring them to front, please. Show your muscles.
Hey, I'm getting old. I'm gonna bring it up with the cameras and everything else. This,
That's just one example of a material that.
this is embedded in the earth. It's not sitting up above. And it doesn't have to look like a traffic light. It could be all white. It could be whatever we choose it to be. But the idea is we have something that you can mow over. It's easy to maintain. That is certainly more aesthetically pleasing than the lovely composite bumpers we have right now. And we had started looking at this with this particular company, right, 2 years ago?
I think a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, even longer than that.
I think Vanna White has competition here. Ryan, do you have any questions before we?
No, this is one of my things I've been trying to do for at least 3 years. Well, if not 4, is try to get the True Grid product installed to organize the parking along Palm Boulevard. And we've reached out to SCDOT previously, and they gave us allowed us to go through and do test areas of it, and then everything happened, COVID happened, and everything kind of went to the wayside, as did everything else. But I'm excited to actually start utilizing something like this in as a managed parking. But like I said, it is expensive, and it's something that the city's revenues cannot swallow. So we would need help to do it.
It's a blip in SCDOT's budget.
Before we have our vote, Desiree, we are going to try to put that down in one block so our residents can see. Lawnmowers will be able to drive over it next year, not this year. This year, we're going to have the composites.
Yeah, we can test it out in one block, contact the company and, you know, they have offered in the past to share with us some samples or a test area. We can certainly put that up, and I'm sure that with SCDOT's collaboration, we can help maybe provide the manpower to get it installed in one small section, just so that we can try it out. So definitely work on that.
And Mayor, for what it's worth, the conversation with Secretary Hall was addressing the beach side of Palm Boulevard in the future also. So hopefully we do something that's consistent for all of parking.
I believe we are ready for Councilmember Ward.
My last comment.
It's okay.
I just think of it as a harbinger of bad things to come. And that I really appreciate SCDOT coming and working with us on this past few weeks, getting involved and along with effort, but everybody was steady. Thank you very much. I'm sure the citizens appreciate that attitude, working with us, as opposed to what happened on the connector. And what happened on the connector, we had no control over, we had no say-so over. We understand that that's water under the bridge, I guess, but it's over, but it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth on the island. Whereas this is different. I feel like we're still missing one key link that maybe others won't agree with me, that would disagree with me on. And that I just wish we had more time for a public hearing or to get all of this great information and all this hard work that's been done the past few weeks on this. And I really appreciate everybody's hard work and effort. And I think we've come up with a good solution. But citizens of Isle Palms are hungry for information, and I just wanted to say that I don't think they have enough information. Our good friends in the press back there, I don't know how this is going to play out tonight and tomorrow morning. But I just think I wish we had more time and had more time for citizens to react. They don't even know what's going on. Thank you very much.
Before we ever vote, I'm gonna have my comments. Leland, thank you for everything you presented to us and all the work that y'all done, and to Desiree and to everybody. What I want to stress is we are protecting the residential character of the interior of Isle of Palms. To me, that's paramount. We're keeping the parking up close to the ocean, and our residential streets are remaining residential streets where our kids are playing and riding bicycles. To me, that's more important than anything else. That's what we strive for in 2015. And I think a lot of hard knocks, a lot of words, a lot of social media, but here we are. I think it's time to put a vote to it. Ready for a vote? Desiree?
I'll call the roll call because Nicole had to leave early. All right, Councilmember Bell?
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan?
Aye.
Councilmember Ward?
Aye.
Councilmember Moy?
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman?
Aye.
And Councilmember Popson.
Aye.
Mayor Carroll?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Here, a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.